So, in this exploding world of generative AI, when it comes to keeping your applications secure, are you relying on a good plan? Or are you just hoping for good luck? Well, today, we're going to build that plan. Let's dive in.
And let's just start with the most important question, right? Is your AI application truly secure? Because, as these incredibly powerful tools get woven into pretty much everything we do, the consequences of a security slip-up, they're getting more serious than ever before.
And the thing is, the need for this kind of security is just growing exponentially. I mean, look at this. The market for generative AI is absolutely skyrocketing. And for developers like you, that means one really critical thing: your attack surface. Basically, all the potential doors and windows for bad actors. It's getting bigger every single day. That makes solid security an absolute non-negotiable.
Okay, so if we're going to build a strong defense, we have to know our enemy. So let's break down some of the most common threats that developers are up against right now. And we're going to use the expert guidance from the OWASP Top 10 list for large language models as our map. First on the list is prompt injection. Now, the best way to think about this is like a social engineering attack, but it's aimed right at the AI itself. Attackers will craft these really clever prompts to trick the model into doing things it absolutely should not be doing. We're talking about extracting sensitive data, generating harmful content, or just straight up bypassing all the safety fences you've built. Next up, we've got supply chain vulnerabilities. And no, we're not talking about shipping containers here. In our world, your supply chain is the entire digital ecosystem your app depends on. This could be anything from outdated software libraries, insecure third-party plugins, or any external tool that could accidentally open a backdoor for an attacker to waltz right in. And then there's a big one, a human factor risk, over-reliance. This is what happens when we just blindly trust whatever an AI spits out. We have to remember, large language models can, and they absolutely do, hallucinate. They just make things up. So if you're accepting their output as gospel truth without any verification, you could be heading for some seriously negative consequences. All right, so we've seen the enemy, we know the threats. Now it's time to get proactive. Let's open up our defensive playbook and start talking about clear, actionable strategies you can use to protect your application.
So, how in the world do you defend against something as tricky as prompt injection? Well, the core idea is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. You have to strictly control what goes into the model, and you have to be just as strict about what comes out.
So this defense really plays out in 4 key stages. First, you have to validate all user input, no exceptions. Second, you filter that content for anything that looks even remotely malicious. Third, you sanitize both the requests going to the model and the responses coming back. And finally, you have to constantly monitor and log everything. This is how you spot attacks in real time and block the bad guys. Now, for your supply chain, it's all about diligence. Your checklist should look something like this. 1. Always use the latest secure version of your software, not just the newest one. 2. Vet every single plugin and tool for known vulnerabilities. 3. Verify that any third-party models you're using are safe. And 4. You have to proactively hunt for weaknesses in your own system. And that last point, that proactive hunting, that's often done through something called AI red teaming. This is where you have a team that basically acts like an attacker. Their whole job is to try and break your system, to find vulnerabilities. It's all about finding and patching the holes in your defense before the real attackers ever get a chance to find them. So what about that over-reliance problem? How do we fight that? Well, it really comes down to a 3-part approach. First, you have to be transparent. You've got to educate your users about what the AI can, and more importantly, can't do. Second, you need to build systems to verify and monitor the AI's outputs for accuracy. And third, you have to be rigorously testing your model with all sorts of different prompts to really understand its behavior.
You know, the biggest takeaway from all of this is really about a shift in mindset. Security cannot be an afterthought. It's not just some box you check at the very end of a project. It has to be treated as a core feature, something that's just as fundamental to your product as its design or its functionality. And that brings us right back to where we started, and it's captured perfectly in this quote from a Microsoft developer source. If you have the right security strategy, you don't need luck on your side. You have a good plan. It's all about that proactive planning.
Because when it comes down to it, this is the whole point. Every single security measure, every line of defense, it's all there to build one thing: user trust. A secure application is a trustworthy application, and believe me, in the world of AI, trust is the most valuable asset you have. So, I'll leave you with this question to really think about. Right now, what is the single biggest security risk in your current AI project? Answering that question honestly, well, that's the first step toward building a truly great plan.